and welcome to the What's Your Story podcast. I'm Missy Day, and with me is my partner. Wait a minute.
I was just going to cut you off. Go ahead. Who am I?
And my partner,
Michelle Housebeck.
Yay! And with us on this episode is our very special guest, Shaunie Hoskins. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Have we mentioned how good you look in red?
You have.
I was just going to say it. For anyone not watching the video, this girl wore red today for the first time since I've known you. And man, I'm just blown away. It is your color.
Mm-hmm. Yes. You look very regal and royal and fun all at the same time.
Hey, I love that. Regal and fun.
Your power color.
I'm going to get a shirt that says that I'm regal and fun.
Yes, you should. Yeah. So Shaunie was also, on our previous episode that we just shot, so we had Samantha, she was talking a little bit about the What's Your Story Academy. Mm-hmm. And she was kind of sharing about what she was feeling before she went, kind of during, and then after. So what are your thoughts about going through that process?
It really helped me to clarify how I wanted to tell my story and actually whether my story was worth hearing. Really validated me. I've always been a person where I felt like my calling was to help other people. And I really wasn't sure that telling my story was a venue for me or an avenue for me to do that. And through the process, I learned that that was the best place I could have been. You know, you were fabulous, having other folks in the class share their stories and learning from that. Yeah, it was fabulous. It really was.
Well, you did really well, and I just remember, because you kind of came in and you were thinking about writing your story, right? Mm-hmm. And you kind of like changed that direction. But when you stood up and shared your story, like for the first time, I know all of us were just like, what's happening right now? And we were talking earlier about how when you meet somebody now and they don't know you, you have your perception that's set in the now. Mm. And you have no idea what came before that. And so then when people are vulnerable and share what happened before that, it's amazing the stuff that we've heard over the years from people telling their story.
Right.
Yeah, I imagine so. Just my experience of hearing that, dozen or so people, their stories in class was just amazing to me. You kind of think, wow, it's amazing that people get up and start another day just based on some of the things that you've had to overcome, or even just not even just those, but some of the really powerful, positive stories, like Dara told about one accomplishment after another, or since she was a little kid. So it was very inspiring. It was very inspiring.
What would you say your greatest takeaway was from the Academy?
That I didn't have to sit down and write an entire novel to tell my story.
Was that a relief?
It was huge. I'm like, I can just do it on, talking to people and within half an hour, 15 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is. It was like a big weight was off my shoulder. I mean, I still love to write, and that is my first place before I go to speak. I write it out, and I find myself writing like a novelist, and then I have to kind of go back and change it some and make it not sound like a novel, but more, just sharing my story. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you'll be sharing your story. So you'll be sharing your story at March Like-Minded Lunch.
Yes.
Mm. And then you'll be sharing your story at our What's Your Story pop-up in May. So how are you feeling about that?
A little butterflies, I know there'll be more people at the What's Your Story in May. Also, the Like-Minded Lunch, there'll be people who have not heard my story before and with whom I did not share that class experience. Mm-hmm. And it will be a first time with people, maybe some people who haven't known me from the past. Mm-hmm. And I'll feel really vulnerable. It'll be out there, but I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it.
I know that you will touch the audience. Mm-hmm. As we always say, if you can make an impact on at least that one person in the audience that needs to hear your story, which I know that you will, And the cool thing about stories are they're obviously very unique and each to our own. But even if you've never had the same exact experience, I think for the most part, you can always draw on something where you're like, oh yeah, okay. I get it. Yep, I felt that way before.
I hope so. I mean, that's how I kind of tie it up sort of towards the end, even just no matter what experience you may have had that could have brought you trauma or grief. We've all experienced something like that. And if there's any way what I say can help healing of whatever that is, or inspire you or someone to be able to take that next step, to get up that next morning, to, move on, then that's all I want. Just to be able to help and serve.
What hit me really hard, and it was, you were kind of wrapping it up at the end, because it's something I believe in a lot, is you talked about choice. You want to share a little bit about your feelings and your perception of choice with us?
Ooh, that's a big one. I just got all tingly all over. How much time do we have? Well, it's something that it took me decades to learn, and I share it in my story because I wish someone would have at least introduced the concept to me much earlier when I was younger, which was, decades ago. And that is when something happens to us that we have little to no control over. And, we learned this, the Dalai Lama says you actually have a choice. You have a choice to suffer, or you have a choice to accept. And if you accept, then the healing process can happen, right? Because you've realized there really is nothing I can do about this situation, and I can choose to be miserable about it day after day after day. In my case, year after year after year after year after decade, until either someone had said it, maybe someone said it before and I wasn't ready, but to hear it again and hear it when I was ready, it was just like,
yeah,
and I found joy back in my life.
Yay.
Because I chose to end the suffering. And it really is a choice. It really is a choice. You don't think so, and you don't want anyone to tell you that it is, but it really is.
Well, I think in our lives, this is what I've discovered going through all my stories, is when we feel like we don't have a choice is actually when we're typically forced to make one of the biggest choices in our life, which is to continue doing something that is not healthy in whatever fashion, or you finally choose to accept whatever it is and take the steps to move forward out of where you were. We always have a choice.
Yes.
And not choosing is a choice.
It is. It
Absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
So one of the things that's under the What's Your Story umbrella is I have a speaker bureau where people that are speakers, I book gigs for them. And so today is a very special day because Shaunie, as of today, is a member of my speaker bureau. Yay!
Welcome! Yay!
We need our applause
Thank
thing.
you. So
We
excited.
do.
So I'm very excited to have you part of the bureau, and I can't wait to see you step into your greatness as far as being a speaker and sharing, because I know that you're gonna be such a huge influence to a lot of people. And the thing I love the most about when you did your graduation speech is that you would drop this bomb on us, and then there'd be humor. And then you drop another bomb, and then you kind of walked off, you know what I mean? And it's just it just kept you on a roller coaster that you couldn't wait for the next thing. And you have a lot of times people have to be taught the timing and the pausing and when to insert humor and when to do something like walking off. And that just comes naturally to you, which that's a blessing for you. And that kind of told me that day at graduation, that's yeah, you were meant to be a speaker.
Yay!
Yeah. There is just a natural, it's like you've been doing it for years when you get up there. And it's very conversational, which I think is awesome because that's hard for people to master as well. I feel like I'm just having a conversation with you and connecting.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You knew, not me. Not until I took the course and graduated.
What are you most excited about deciding to be a speaker? Saying, yep, I'm going to get out there and share.
Hearing stories like yours, how you connected with my story, and how you're like, oh yeah, okay, oh, I could do that. You know, that's what I'm most excited about, that my sharing my story will help other people to be able to have that kind of aha experience. It's going to be fun just getting out and speaking. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I had a little bit of experience because I did musical theater when I was way young. So being on a stage isn't unfamiliar to me.
Right.
But I'm not going to be singing. So that's my comfort is singing on stage because I get to be somebody else. Here it's different. I'm being me, and I'm sharing the deepest, darkest, pain that I've had, and the joys too, and all of those things. So I think that the thing I'm most excited about is having that connection with whomever it is in the audience who needs to hear what I have to say to help them.
Okay. So I don't know if this is too premature, but I'm going to ask it anyways. Here we go.
All right.
Because that's how we roll on this show and in life.
With Missy for sure. No surprise there.
What are some topics that your heart is feeling that you would like to speak on?
Oh, great. Okay. Well,
I'm throwing you to the wolves.
you are. Let me see. Well, part of my story is about giving birth to my son, Adrian Long, who's has Charge syndrome, lots of health issues. And I really would like to speak to those parents, family members, siblings even, of that person who's differently abled, medically fragile, who I can relate to, because no one can relate to you like another parent who's gone through or going through what you've gone through. And to help give them some kind of support and encouragement about the next day and about their child, and seeing them perhaps differently than they might be seeing. I don't know if that's a right word, seeing them or experiencing them or thinking of, I don't know. And you know my story, so you know what I'm talking about, but I don't know if you guys would know what I'm talking about. So yeah, parents of children with special needs. Also women who've gone through trauma. I ran a nonprofit for women who'd been sex trafficked, and women who've been in the sex industry, who have tried to get out, or just women who have been disappointed in life. Even just that, just being disappointed. Your life didn't turn out the way you planned. How do you pick yourself up and dust yourself off and move forward towards joy and not stay stuck in that pain and disappointment? So, that's a message for everyone.
Yep.
However, I feel more, it's because I'm a woman and I've gone through all that, connection and calling to really work with women who've had trauma and pain that they just can't seem to come out of. Counseling, antidepressants, whatever it is, it's a spiritual change that really has to happen, in my opinion, in my experience. And so there's two.
I like that. Yeah.
And we'll see what else. I can sing and tap dance for you.
We might have to book you for that at One of the Wonder Stories.
Well, we asked Samantha this question too. So when you shared your story at the graduation ceremony, how did you feel after?
I like that.
A deep breath.
I never told it to anyone, really. And I'd written most of it out, but not all of it. And I, up until almost toward just before graduation, I wasn't sure how to tie up or end the story. And that's how I'm going to get emotional here for a second. That's how I think I saw my life. You know what I'm saying?
Yep. Yep.
So it was a big,
So what I'm curious, so when I saw you sign up for the academy, I was like thrilled, also curious. So what prompted you to sign up for the class?
well, I might have told you this before, but it was, Missy thinks you should do it, so okay, I should do it. But what beyond that, and I wouldn't just take a class like this from anyone. Beyond that, I had just come from a writing seminar at the Chautauqua Institute where I had been writing. And then this invitation came, and I thought, wow, maybe this is the next step, or maybe this is part of, maybe I could get on a speaking tour, then I can sell my book. That was really my first thing. I thought, oh, this could help me sell my world famous American novel. So that's why I said, those are the two reasons why I said yes, because I admire you so much. And I knew I couldn't go wrong with whatever mentoring instruction that you would give me. I hadn't met Michelle yet till the class, and yay, now it's like twofer. And I was thinking and I am still a writer, but I felt like it was going to be just a tool, more of a tool. It ended up being so much more, and like a pivot.
Oh yeah,
Really.
and I think as a speaker too, I mean, once there's a book behind a speaker, it even elevates their career even higher. With that.
So it's the other way around. Okay.
Yeah, because there are people that's like, he's a speaker and they have a book.
Yeah.
It's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can still write your book.
I can still write my book. They'll have all these different little topics within the book I can speak on, I guess.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. We all have many stories and micro stories
Yes.
Yes.
and story evolution.
Stories within the story within the
Well,
story.
the story, yeah. And that was part of the part that was difficult too. I wasn't sure which story, because I started out telling a story, if you remember in the class, that was not the story I ended up telling. I told another horrible thing that had happened to me in my youth, and ended up switching to that one, which was the right one for the time. So we still have that other one to tell.
I think we both have had the experience of where we think we know what we're going to talk about it or what's our story, and then we get up on stage and it's like, nope, that's not where I'm supposed to be going today.
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what happened to me at graduation. I said a few things that I didn't have in my notes that I was going to say.
Yeah, I stood and told the story of why I'm not telling the story
That's
I was planning on telling. So,
Okay, and scene.
right.
And we're done.
I'm done.
So do you see yourself, because we were talking about this before you came in, so we're kind of like oversharing our personal story, that we had, and unless there's a specific reason, time, location where it needs to be shared. But like, I would like to share other things. I mean, I'm 65, I don't have just 14 to 18 years old, story. There's past that. And so do you see yourself at some point, like branching out and maybe not sharing so much about your son?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the first story I thought I was going to tell you had nothing to do with my son. A lot of my stories seem to be about being a woman during the time I was a young woman, and then moving forward, and what it has taken to become a successful woman, to be successful in life, and overcoming those kind of obstacles. A lot of them are that, and not exclusively. Some of them are just about joy.
Yeah, which I think is important. We don't always, that's like the thing, we try to get across with what's our story. It doesn't have to be tragic. It doesn't have to be trauma. you know, sometimes people just need to hear that somebody is like loving their life. And how do I get to that place so I can say I'm loving my life too?
That's where I'm going.
Yeah, it's
with my
amazing.
stories. That's where I want to go.
That's great. I can tell the story of last year. I shared with my parents that last year was the best year of my life since I was in graduate school.
Wow.
Awesome.
It was an amazing year. You should have been there. It was so great. It was so great. Yeah. And you can, and I created that.
Mm-hmm.
I could have said, oh no, you know, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if I don't? Nah. It was great. I had support from my family, which is helpful. But it was the best year of my life since graduate school.
That's awesome.
I want to hear that story.
Mm-hmm.
There's you got lots of them.
So many stories.
So if you have an event coming up and you would like to book Shaunie to be your speaker, you've heard a little bit about touching on a lot of her topics that she has. So if you would like to have her at your event, please reach out to Missy at missyday.com. And I would be happy to book her for your event. She has a life-changing story, and I know that she would really encourage and blow your audience away. And if somebody wants to reach out to you personally, how would they do that?
They can reach me on my email, which is shaunie.hoskins@gmail.com. shaunie.hoskins@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook too.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for being you, and I hope your life just like this year is better than last year.
Yay!
Yep.
That would be phenomenal.
It's going to be.
I'm ready. I
It's
am
going
ready.
to
It's
be.
going to be.
That's right.
Yes.
Last year was just the beginning. Last year was just the beginning.
That's right.
Yes, I agree with that. Amen.
And thank you for sharing your stories
Yes.
with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for being here. And thank you for joining us today and supporting What's Your Story podcast. If you see this, please like, comment, and share. And we will see you next time.
Bye.